Hey, let's go, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the LA Poker Roundup. As always, I am your host, Ty Dobberton, along with my co host, Derek Kwan. And we've got a very special guest with us this week. We've got another piece of the LA Poker Roundup crew, Mr. Frank Lin.
You guys.
Hey, it is May 7th,
Frank.
2025, and this is episode 84. So we have Frank on not just because he's just an awesome pillar of the local LA poker scene, and he's been doing such a great job for us on the Instagram, which is where a lot of people kind of think we're just the Instagram account. He does such a good job.
They really do. Like they don't know about the podcast.
Yeah, they don't know about any of the other stuff, but Frank is killing it so much there that people. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that is the heart of the soul, right? Heart and soul of what we want to do. So, but no. Not just that. In case you don't know, Frank has had a lot of great milestones this year and a really nice accomplishment just this past week. So, just this year, Mr. Frank Lin has just eclipsed that awesome, really cool milestone of 1 million on Hendon Mob. So, way to go, Frank.
Nice work.
That is a lifetime achievement award right there. So, he just hit that magical number that Derek is oh so close to hitting, but not quite.
Needle.
And also, in case you didn't know, Frank is also a World Series circuit ring champion. He has himself a ring. He also, hold on, let me get my notes. He also is, and I didn't know this. I was checking around, clicking some buttons on Hendon. It turns out it looks like are you our 8th in total cashes at the bike? That is pretty cool. Not bad at all.
That's crazy.
And as we alluded to, he is the most recently minted Commerce Poker Pro. So congratulations, Frank, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you, Derek. Well, I figure, being #1 field reporter of LAPR doesn't get an automatic invite, so I had to go get myself a Commerce Poker Pro to get invited to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to earn it. You got to earn it.
Absolutely. We don't play favorites here, even though we have favorites.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. So that's really cool stuff, man. We can't wait to dig into it with you. I obviously saw you a ton around the scene when I started playing poker. Didn't know, honestly, you were kind of not a mystery, but you were kind of just another reg until we started the show, and we will get into all of that story later on. Let's start at the beginning, though. I think I know the answer to this question, but why don't you let everybody know just how long have you been here in LA?
I moved here in 1984, so wow, over 40 years ago now. I moved from Taiwan. That's where I was born. And speaking of Taiwan, well, let me get to the story later. There are a lot of my favorite players from Taiwan, as you know, Andy Stack, who Derek just had a 10-minute poker tip with, Poker Hall of Famer Maria Ho, JJ Liu, of course, Kitty Kuo. They're some of my favorite players. And recently I found out that our own LA Blaster Alti is also from Taiwan. That was a surprise to me. So pretty awesome.
So many Taiwanese poker players. It's crazy.
I know,
right? So speaking of Taiwan, I had the story. I was at the Rio for the series, and during break, this nice lady location. We were in the lounge, Diamond Lounge, just taking a break, and she asked me where I'm from. I say Taiwan. It's like, oh, I love that place. Taiwan is so beautiful. And then a few minutes later, we talked up a little bit again. I mentioned Taiwan again. I didn't want to correct her right away, and then she again said, "Yeah, I really wish I could go back to Thailand again."
Oh.
So anyway, who really put
Brutal.
Taiwan on the map? You better guess.
In the poker world or what?
No, just in general.
Oh, just in general. Ooh, nah, it's too many people. Who do you think? Who is it?
Give you a hint. To Infinity and Beyond.
To Infinity and Beyond.
Yeah.
Pixar? Buzz?
Yeah, you gotta watch Toy Story 2. I think it's 2. So when Buzz was lost or kidnapped, there's on his arm it says "Made in Taiwan." They made that statement. And a lot of time it said most of the toys they were or are still made in China, and that was the first time in the mainstream movie they mentioned Taiwan.
Right.
And I thought that was
and not to get political, but that's a little act of a political statement by Pixar, right? Because
Yeah.
it was probably
Possibly,
still
yeah.
dicey to say Taiwan back then instead of China.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it still is, but like much more so because that's an old movie now. All
Mhm.
right. Hey,
Did
very
you know
cool.
Bob is coming out?
Did I know what?
There's going to be a Toy Story
Oh
5.
yeah, I'm a huge
Man.
Pixar fan, man. Don't get me started on that. I just, man, Toy Story 2
They
is a long
just
time ago.
finished with 3. 3
Three
was
was
perfect ending.
perfect. Yeah, make
Yeah.
4 and 5 different, but make them side stories. Give it a different name and use some of the same characters, right? Something else. Let's not. We could talk about Pixar too long. This is a poker podcast. So,
Right.
now it was a little fuzzy. Just quick for my refresher. You said 94 or 84 you moved here?
84.
84.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that
you
long
moved here in
ago. Yeah.
84.
40
So you
years
moved
ago.
here
Yeah.
when I was 1. So you actually, you and I both moved to America in the same year.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, because
Okay.
I was adopted in 84,
Okay.
84. So, very cool. So, at what point then did you get into poker? Were you already introduced to the game of poker, or did you get into poker here in LA?
Um, well, actually, the first time I remember playing poker was up in Bay Area. I went to Berkeley for college, and I forget the name. It wasn't Bay 101, and I discovered the game Limit Hold'em. It was 2-3 or 3-6. I don't remember. So that was my first experience with poker back in the early 2000s, maybe 2001, 2002, and then I moved back. Oh, 2000, 2003, I was in college, just so you don't think I'm that much younger. Um, I was in law school. That's shortly after law school. And I also went to Berkeley for law school. I came back. I moved back in 2000 and started playing poker with friends. My buddy from college, James, and we just play home games with friends and then quarters. Then we came across World Poker Tour on Travel Channel. This is 2003,
Yeah.
2002, and of course the Moneymaker Epic Story, and that's how it got started. I actually started playing cash games. Um, Back then, it's mainly Limit that was more popular, but I think after 2003, 2004, No Limit became more popular. And I remember playing at Hustler, playing the 2-3, 3-6 limit hold'em, and then one night, for whatever reason, they say, let's give this no limit hold'em a try. I bought in for 200 at 1-2 or whatever the lowest denomination was, and a few hours later, cashed out 800, and that was the end of limit hold'em.
Very
It's the
cool.
Cadillac of poker.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
It's always funny, man, the impact that televised stuff had on everyone, even people who are already
Sure.
playing, just to shape it
Yeah.
into No Limit, just to push everyone into that. It's wild to hear what a huge impact that was, and it's just, yeah, it just really reinforces how important it's going to be to have another moment like that somehow, some way. Geez, Salzburg, get on that script, sell that script, whatever it is you got. I know you got something cooking. All right, so that's cool. So you went up, you discovered poker in college up in the Bay Area. You came down, moved back to LA, and you got playing some more and discovered that, man, they were really bad at No Limit Hold'em. That's not bad, not bad. Now, at what point did you start dipping your toe into tournaments then? I have, I've combed through your Hendon mob here, and, I didn't mention this either, but Frank is, a prolific tournament player. You would never know he played cash at all if you took a look at this guy's Hendon mob. There have been years, in fact, such as 2018, I believe. Oops, sorry, that's a spoiler. 2018, I believe, where Frank was in the top 10, tied for seventh place in worldwide caches near the end of the year here. I'm not sure if this is the final of the year, but so Frank is, if you did not know, a consummate grinder, and he has Hendon results dating all the way back to 2007. So
Can you scroll that down a little bit, just a few spots?
I have it sorted by
No,
cash right now.
no, that just the top 7, that screen that you shared earlier, just now,
Of your Hendon?
of the top 10
Oh,
for
yep,
2018.
sure. This?
If you could
Yep, I got
go
it.
back to that and then
Here we go. I got your caches. So this year we have another local
Yeah,
here.
this
Sean Yu was fourth that
year-
year in your
yeah.
poll.
So that year we're kind of pushing each other, and I stopped playing after the first week of December. I traveled to Asia, so I couldn't give him, the
Oh,
last
you couldn't get.
battle at the end. So, but if you scroll down, take a look at who's like 12th place.
Well, this is a picture. I can't scroll down on this one,
Oh, okay. All right.
but I
That's
can
not
see
so.
in
And
11th is Ari Engel. So
yeah, that's what I meant,
yep,
Ari.
yep.
So that's never gonna happen again. Having more caches than Ari in a calendar
Right.
year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Very cool. And you know, you could always jump out to an early lead. You know, don't say never. If you get enough caches in LAPC, you might get there. But yeah, so you've been playing tournaments
yeah.
since '07, it looks like. But it looked like the volume really started picking up a couple years after that. So how did you get into
Okay.
tournaments? And you know, why don't we talk
Okay.
about that?
So yeah, going back to 2003 to 2004, that's when I started playing um poker. And initially I was playing cash, limit hold'em, and then a little bit no limit hustler. Then I got married in 2004. And then just so to spend more time at home, I started playing online. And at that time, Full Tilt was the biggest thing that was happening. So I signed up with like everyone else who played online back then.
So
And
if you
I
played against
started with
C Cucumber back then, guys, that was him then as well.
so I started with limit. I mean, sorry, with cash, and thinking I played 1-2 live. I said, okay, 1-2, let's do 1-2 no limit hold'em online. And very quickly you realize 1-2 no limit is nothing like 1-2 no limit live. It's more like 5-10, and I was getting crushed. Like, what are these guys doing? They're just calling with aces and let me flop top pair of king, and then just like stack me. It's like, man, this is not looking good. So then I found, oh, there's this thing called sit and go. Okay, I like this because it's capped. It's not 200 per bullet each time. It's kind of like unlimited. So okay, let me try this $5 sit and go one at a
Hmm.
time, and at least last longer that way. So that's how I started transitioning to tournament. I grinded a lot of sit and goes, $5, $10,
Love sit and
$20,
goes. Yeah, I think Derek and I
and
would agree
then
with you. Love sit and goes.
Yeah.
and then
Single
from
limit.
there, yeah, from there went on to play tournaments. And from what you have there, that's a website that's called Official Poker Rankings. That was before they had
Shark scope.
uh, Scope, right? And they track your results. So that's what I used back then to kind of like figure out opponents if you never played them before.
Yep. So just because Frank probably doesn't want to toot his own horn, just want to point out a couple stats from here. So this looks like it covers from 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then Full Tilt kind of went away. So if you take a look at this, look down here at this line, Hold'em no limit Hold'em tournaments total. He played 4,420 events that were tracked by this in those years. So that's
Yeah.
that's around 1,000 a year or so.
That's crazy.
In the money, 17%. 17%, and I'm assuming the cash rate back then was the same, about 12.5%. So that's amazing. Nice 34% ROI. And if you look here, some of these years, his ratings were amazingly high. But if you just look at some of the stats for some of these years, like if you look at 2007, a 36% in the money rate, 2008, a 30% in the money rate, a 54% ROA. Frank was really killing it in these things back then. So doesn't it makes total sense that we started seeing tournament events popping up on your live Hendon around those years as well. But like I said, it didn't look like you really jumped into a lot of live volume until after this site shut down after Black Friday. Is that about accurate?
That's very very accurate. So Black Friday was tax day 2011. So before then, I really didn't play any live tournaments due to work and family. And by that time, 2011, 2008, my firstborn was 2008. So
That
well, I was
explains
just
the gap
playing
from
online
8
mainly.
to 11.
Yeah. So if you look at my Hendon, my first live result, it's from 2007, and I actually remember that trip. It was a weekend trip with my wife, 2007, and everyone dreamed about playing the World Series, and I had no live tournament um, experience before then, other than the dailies at HP, which were actually where I cut my teeth in live tournament. I was playing. I discovered they were doing kind of like a leaderboard. They had the dailies, and then for 1 month or a month and a half, they had points for all the final table finishers, and then at the end of the month, they will have payouts for the top nine or whatever. So I was doing that to get experience and also going for the leaderboard. I ended up first. I remember the week before or the day before, the guy in second, who's still playing sometimes, he asked me if I want to do some kind of chop, but I have a pretty good lead, and I just said no. So that was my first leaderboard
No
experience.
chops.
No chops. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that was probably before 2007, 2006 or so. But my first World Series, 2007, it was a weekend trip, just me and my wife. This was before kids, and direct buy-in, 1500 event. And I remember I didn't last more than 2, 3, 4 hours. And after that event, I was totally discouraged. I
Oh,
was pretty, yeah, just kind of depressed. And then we had the plan to go and play 2 events. And then I was not even planning to play the second one, just how discouraged I was. And it was actually my wife that said, you know what, we're already here. We're planning to play two. You should do it. So, so I did. And then the second event was the one where I have my first live cash. And that one's another 1500. I think it had over 2000 some players. And a couple of things are that were memorable from that event. Near the end of day one, well, actually not near the end, right after dinner break, I came back. I had a pretty good chip stack. I remember racing under the gun, and big blind was not back from dinner break yet. And the small blind is this Japanese professional player. If you click into the results, you might see someone,
I see
the
Tony
Japanese flag.
Dunst
Yes,
casted
yeah.
right after you. I see.
Yes, I have a story about that too. So anyway, the small blind Japanese professional player, I forgot his name, but if you've seen the World Series clip where quad aces lost to Royal Flush,
Hmm.
that went viral, he's the guy with quad aces.
Really,
Um, yeah,
Motoyuki
but not
Mabuchi.
not in that event. That was in the main mobile something, right?
Yep,
You see it?
Motoyuki Mabuchi.
Yeah, that's the person.
Gotcha.
So anyway, he three bet me from the small blind. I flatted with pocket nines. Flop was 7-8-8 or 7-7-8. This is before I knew anything about, you know, pot control. So he checked, and I just kind of bet, and I bet pretty sizable, pretty much telegraphing my hand, and then he check raised all in for massive, massive. He covered me, and I have a lot of chips, and I tanked for a while, and then I folded. Then he flipped over ace queen offsuit, and then I was thinking if I had called and held up, our chips I would have made me overall chip lead at the time,
Wow.
but I didn't call, and then so anyway, well I think I outlasted him, right?
Yep, he
So
busted in 112.
day two, we were pretty deep already. 73 players left, and at this time, I made a conscious effort not to look at the payouts. I didn't want the payouts to affect me at all. Don't want that to be a factor. So when I busted, I was in the big blind. I three bet jam with queens, ran to ace queen, and didn't hold. And 10 seconds after I busted, there was another payout, and that was Tony Dust. I
Hmm.
didn't know who Tony Dust was at the time, and then I look at the payout and I saw a 1500 pay jump. That's the buy-in. So I didn't know anything about tanking a little bit, making sure about pay jump. I didn't know that there was a pay jump at 73, 72. That was my first live cash. So since then, I am more aware of the pay jump
and
now. So
and now you're
you'll
Frank
see
the
me.
Tank.
No, I'm like, oh, there's a $150 page on. Wait a second, right? I think Jerry Griner gave me, trouble for that the other time. He's like, come on, 150. But it's all relative to the buy-in.
Yep.
So,
Yep. That was a full buy in there.
yeah, so that was my first experience with live tournament and first cash. And then after that, um, my second live tournament, I heard about circuit events coming to SoCal. It was at San Diego Rincon. This was before Circuit came to LA, and I took another weekend trip with my wife, who was then 6 months pregnant, 5 6 months,
I hear some baby
and
run good coming.
exactly right. So it was the first event at Rincon, and it had over 500 players. That was my very first circuit event that I played, and then ended up shipping it, and this baby look is for real, right? It's a real thing.
All right, I'm counting on that later. But yeah, that's
It,
crazy. Congratulations. So really, this was the third live tournament you ever played. You
not
cashed.
I'm not sure if it's ever played, but
Okay,
it's
like
not
non
around it.
non
I'm
daily
thinking it is.
tournament. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got 5x your buy-in almost in a 1500 at the World Series, and then you just casually ship a ring in San Diego on your first shot. So at this point, tournament poker, live poker, you must have thought was just so easy. You're hooked.
Right.
You're in.
It's like, wow, this is easy game.
All right.
So
So then
this was
what?
back when they had coverage on thebizop.com. Do you have the photos I sent you?
Yeah, I've got
Because
some.
it was actually Bill Bruce, who's now a tournament director at the Gardens. He used to be at Rincon, and he was nice enough to take a few photos for us. That's my wife. 6 months pregnant. I gave her the ring, of course. The second place lady offered me $500 for the ring. I said no, that's going to my wife. So
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
first circuit event, one ring. It's like this is easy game, right? But then now I realize what 17 years later the
Yeah.
drought continues. It's all downhill from there, right?
Yeah,
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 you have all
right.
these expectations when you have that much success early. You're like, oh, this is easy. I have like 50 rings in 2 years.
But I have to say,
Right.
with the number of caches you have rivaling that of some of the really, really notorious grinders out there, you seems like you've managed to keep your passion for the game going this whole time. I mean, we're talking almost 20 years of tournament poker. How have you managed to keep your love of the game going strong? Because, not only do you have these caches and you play live, I think everybody who plays in LA knows that you are well known for being the king of multitasking at the table. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever seen you play an event without at least two, if not three, electronic devices going, doing some work over here, playing rounders here, playing GG something here, playing club something there. Like, how do you do it, man? How do you keep grinding like that and still love the game?
Okay, so there are a couple of things. I think it has to do with my online background. When I started playing online on Full Tilt, I usually have at least 4 to 6 to 8 screens going at the same time, tournaments. So I'm kind of used to just having more than one. And I think initially that also helps you be a little bit more um, patient,
Hmm.
and you're
Yeah,
not
sure.
trying to force the action. You have enough to your hands are full, right? And so that's the background I have. And I also have a knack for puzzles. I love puzzles and logic games, solving them. That helps me with keeping the passion. I also like and really enjoy competition, and that's anything team oriented or individual. As early as college, I was playing a lot of Street Fighter 2. I don't know if you guys
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Street Fighter me down Nintendo, and I spent a lot of hours. That's probably my minor, or if not double major at Berkeley. And that was the original Street Fighter 2 where they had all the glitches for Guile. So
Oh,
Guile was
okay.
like invincible. I played Rue, unfortunately, and I was ranked second in campus. The first guy is this guy, Japanese guy, Thomas. He always used
He was a
Guile
guile
and
cheeser.
just
Gotcha.
yeah.
Flash kick thing or
So
something, right? Or something.
well, I mean, not just that. It's just all the moves. It's
It's all,
really tough to counter. At
yeah.
least until the later
Yep, yep.
versions where they kind of
Where they started
buff
balancing
him.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So from there, I'm also really enjoy Tetris, and the coin up Tetris. I could flip the score 99999 in 1 quarter.
Wow.
So I'm able to process kind of like those data and spatial um, information quickly enough to you know to make the decision. So I think that helps with multitasking.
So, yeah.
Not as good with words. When it comes to words, when you put me on the spot, I'm like totally
Which
lost.
is funny
But with
because
logic, yeah,
for those of you who don't know, right, Frank's a lawyer, so you would expect a lawyer to be extremely eloquent and able to twist
yeah,
you up and tie you up with his words, right?
that's actually why I went to law school, because I'm not really articulate, and I thought, okay, going to law school, at least they will help you become articulate. That was not true. They just teach you how to see things from both sides, be able to represent both
Gotcha.
parties and have arguments for both sides. I was well, everyone had to go through moot court, where you argue an appellate case. I mean, I tried my best. I was like basically no chance, but my brief So you basically write a brief, a appellate brief, and then you argue your brief in like moot court
I've seen this in
competition.
rounders.
Right? So I got nowhere in the oral argument part, but I argue my own brief, of course. But someone asked me to borrow my brief, and he argued with my brief, and he won the whole contest,
Okay.
just making the same arguments I made.
And then
So
later
you
you
know,
guys became partners and you opened a successful law
no,
firm.
right? That would be a Hollywood story, right? So yeah, I did win best brief, like one of the finalists for best brief. But just as you know from the industry, it's about presentation
Uh-huh.
and you know act in front
For
of
sure.
the juror
Yeah,
to
for
earn them
sure.
over.
Yeah, and I think that's, I know personally, it took me a while to become more of a talker. I don't even know if I'm a good talker. I just talk more. And so I totally get why the gravitation towards puzzles and things that you can solve and just you get the right answer and you're good. You don't have to convince anyone it's the right answer necessarily, right? You get the right answer, you solve it. With that kind of background, I got to think you must have really loved it when the more and more poker has become kind of more mathematical, a little more puzzle like, a little more like
Right.
a logic puzzle, and the mechanics behind it really getting laid out now, right? So, kind of the next question is sort of how have you personally, your personal approach to the game, right? How is that? How did it start, and how has it evolved since then? You've been playing for so long. You had a lot of success early. What was your approach back then, and what is it now?
So when I first um, started, I read some books, Super System, and also one of the first books I read was by Phil Hellmuth, How to Play Like the Pros. I think that's the title. I did a search earlier. If you Google, he has an article still on ESPN from 2005, and there's this Phil Hellmuth top 10 hands. Have you seen that?
No,
So
I don't. I
basically,
don't Google Phil Hellmuth very often.
aces, kings, queens, jacks. Well, aces, kings, queens, ace, king, jacks, tens,
This is a very
nine,
deep
eight. I think
book. This was a really expensive book
seven.
back in the day, I
Right,
bet, right?
but
Like
that's
giving the
part of
secrets
it,
away.
right? So ace, queen. So basically, he's saying, okay, for beginners, just stick with the top 10 hands, and then you will be fine. So that's how I started, and then you know, that's really all you had to do to get to the final 20%. Like you could blind out to about top 30% if you just fold everything. But if you play some hands, you should get to top 20. And so that was my initial approach. And then so I guess that's why initially my um, ITM percentage is kind of high, but RI is not because I'm always going for the min cash. That was my train of thinking from reading Phil Hellmuth's book. Okay, ITM is important. Get the cash, then see what happens. So that's how I started playing tournaments, and I still have that mentality, but mostly in satellites. I don't play um, that way in most tournaments. And if you look at like if you go back to Hendon, a story I forgot to share. So after the Rincon cash, my next cash was another circuit. It was at Caesar Palace, I think a year later or something.
hmm
So I went there
2 years, but yep.
and yeah, on the bottom, yeah.
Oh, yep.
And then
Oh, that's the same year then.
yeah, very bottom. It's the same year.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, this is when live tournament poker was new to me, and Hendon Mob is new to me. I just found out, whoa, a cash could get you on Hendon Mob, and so I remember I specifically made that travel to play that circuit event, and we're on the money bubble, and the small blind raised, I'm the big blind. I re-raised, and then he went all in and have Ace King offsuit, and that's a snap call on the bubble, even on the bubble. But back then, I'm thinking, man, the catch is really important. It goes on Hendon Mob. I call it the Hendon Mob
Oh
effect,
no.
or the
Hendon made you
WSOP
fold.
circuit even, right? So I was like, no, I need to have this cash. I need to call Hendon Mob, or on the WSOP, because WSOP has its own website with caches, right? So I made that full, and my friend gave me grief for that. I still remember it. So that's just one story I forgot to share we talked about my first live
You know,
tournament
we're gonna
experience.
ask about satellite strategy later, but I feel like we're gonna get a lot of revealing answers throughout this answer. So go on, go on.
Oh no, but what's the question?
Oh no,
Oh,
no, just in general. But go on. Yeah. So we're still talking about how your game has evolved since that Helmuth book.
okay. So now I'm playing more than the top 10 hands. And
Top ten
yeah,
percent.
so definitely not 100%,
10
but
10%. I said top 10 to top 10%.
yeah, no, I play more than that. Depends on the
Have you
situation and
have you
your
been
opponent.
diving into the solver era head first though, treating it like a puzzle to be solved, or are you, a lot of our guests have been saying they just love to watch great players and kind of emulate them. Do you spend a lot of time watching? I know you're always playing, but I don't know. You spend a lot of time watching final tables and whatnot as well.
I do watch final tables mostly online on Poker Go. And speaking of solvers, I want to take this time to bring up. So if you look at my Hendon mob, and if you rank them by places finished, I have the most seventh and eighth. I think seventh I have 14, eighth probably like 12 or 13.
Wow.
So I'm always right there. Um, so I remember sometime end of last year, and it started kind of like as a joke or a troll. I messaged Fausto because he has his website, he has his ads,
Mm-hmm.
and it says ask me any question, right? So I asked him, so how do I defeat the M boss Fausto, right? So he replied, and we talked a little bit, and I actually started taking a course with him, the MTT introduction course. It was a 5 session course, and it really focused on the proper theoretical play from optimal solutions. And I had GTO a few months before then, and Derek would tell you that I used it like 3 times
Yeah.
in like 6 months. I had to ask
He kept
Derek.
asking me, he's like, what about this hand? I'm like, can you just run it?
Right.
He's like, didn't you
Yeah,
just
because
get?
I have no clue. Right. So he helped me with that and helped me to focus more on GTO, and to analyze from that perspective. I told him I was sick of finishing seventh and eighth, so I'm signing up with his course, and it happened right after he won Remington back in January, and he said, "So it took a Remington for you to finally decide to sign up, huh?" So
Yeah,
so
Fausto's good,
after the
man. Fausto is if you ever people listen to the show, Fausto's a fantastic coach. Every time we talk about a hand, like he always just has the exact right like solver output. His answer is crazy. It's like he's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I do want to point one thing out. There was one spot I asked him at my first tournament or second, and then he disagreed with my play, and then I ran the solver and I showed him my play was actually recommended by a solver. Then he said, "Oh, I didn't know about that spot," and oh, I guess you're the coach here. So point that on the air just for the record.
Yeah.
But anyway, I told Fausto that I'm sick and tired of finishing seventh and eighth. So hopefully something this will help make a push for it.
Yeah.
And after one session, my very next tournament, it was a senior event at Commerce. I didn't finish seventh or eighth. I finished sixth. So
It's
that's progress.
progress, man. Yeah, it sounds like you kind of moved your min cash bubble um, finishes to be final table bubble finishes, right?
It's probably more final two. I think I
Final
have a
two.
lot of final twos too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Final
Yep.
tables are hard. You know what's a funny story is that I actually looked at my Hendon because I didn't realize you could sort by columns
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
last week when
Mr.
Ty
GTO Wizard, we taught him that you can sort
you
on.
could sort. So I sorted
Very
and I have
advanced.
2 second places. And both of them were Remington events. That's how close I was to getting a Remington.
Well, you finally got over the hump this
I
year.
finally got over the
But
hump.
wait. You mean you only
That's
have
good.
2 second places, or you just have 2 second places in Remington events?
I only have 2 second places and they're both Remington
Wow,
events.
that's funny. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
try not to get heads up with Derek, unless it's for Remington.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so yeah, and I know you wanted to pick out a couple other tournaments from your kind of career here. So why don't we quick
Sure.
do that? If you had another one or two you wanted to pick out before we move on.
Okay, let me go and see what's interesting.
I think we talked about this really, really big horse tournament for one.
Okay, that's 2017-ish, right? Let's go to 2015 first. The
2015?
one, oh, actually,
And while you're doing
no,
that,
sorry.
Rick in the chat saying, "I'll teach you ICM, Frank. You just go all in on the turn every hand." Yeah, that's a way to do it, Rick.
Don't listen to Rick. He's trying to beat you in the Player of the Year. Wait until next year.
Yes, we're talking some smack for sure.
All right, 2015. What are we looking at?
I'm sorry, the one that's at the bike, 2017.
The Quantum,
2017. Yes.
where you got second or fifth place in.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Is that March? Or
I'm
is it?
seeing one in October.
Okay. Yep, that's the one. Yeah. So if you click on the results, you'll see a lot of familiar names from
Looks
that.
like Turbo won this guy.
Yeah. So that year, and Linda was there, and also Prego with their very adorable daughter, True. So baby, look, real thing. We ended up chopping this. We chopped 5 ways. Mark Hamilton, he's a reg that doesn't play as much anymore, but this is a pretty LA Blaster heavy final table, and you even have Alan Cunningham.
Yeah, you guys shut
in
Alan
10th.
Cunningham out in 10th.
And you have Audi in 11th. Sayed is now in Vegas. He moved. Same thing with Peter Hensaku. He's also known as Day 2 Pete. Shout out to Peter. He like a lot of LA rigs, they moved to Vegas. So this was one of my favorite final tables, even though we chopped at the end 5 ways.
Very cool. Nice. Yeah, and then I would like to hear about this horse tournament, because when I was looking through your events, it was extremely interesting to me to see a mixed game tournament here in LA that had 321 entries. What was going on with this? How did this thing get so big?
Wow.
So this was actually a quantum horse.
A quantum horse tournament?
Yes,
What?
right?
How do you even do that?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I can't miss this, right?
They should have more of those.
Yeah. So I think the starting stack for this tournament was like 20,000 or 25, I forget. And there are multiple day ones. I actually bagged for less than starting stack, 17K or something. And I was ready to sell action. Well, not massively. I was just gonna sell like 10%. I actually told one friend that if I bust and re-enter, I'll sell you 10%. And he's okay, booked. And then I never busted from a short stack. And this is one of the biggest horse event anywhere. It's 100K guarantee.
And that friend will
And
never talk to you again.
I end up giving him like a 1% or something. But what's the kicker of this event was it's a horse event, right? And I think I showed you a photo of this before. Anyone who's interested, I'm happy to share. Bicycle Casino gave a a trophy of a lion made of stone. So not horse, but a lion. And not just that, it was an anatomically correct.
Anatomically correct lion. Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah. So that was
That's super
quite
funny.
something. I'm not even sure they make that anymore, but that was almost as good as the prize pool.
Nice. So quick pivot. I mentioned this before. A lot of the things you've had big success in, at least since I've known you, and I feel like this has been throughout your career, aren't on Hendon, because as we kind of alluded to, you're kind of a master satellite player. Survivors, satellites, anything like that. I mean, someone who can pull a 36% in the money rate over the course of a year is gonna clean up in satellites, and that's something I've seen you do quite a few times. Is that something that you developed naturally and cultivated, or is that something you put effort and time into, or is it just something that you kind of, hey, I'm good at these, I'm just gonna keep grinding them? What's the thought process there? And Yeah.
So as I alluded to earlier, I think it has a lot to do with how I started playing tournament, the way I play, reading Phil Hellmuth's book and playing top 10% or top 10 hands. It made me realize how easy, at least back then, it is to get to the top 20, top 30%. So when you're playing a satellite, you really just need to go a little bit further. You're going to top 10 or top 12, top 15, sometimes top 20, depending on the type of satellite. So it's a completely different type of game because the prize pool is the end price, the final price is all the same. So you don't need to go into chip accumulation mode. It's really about survival. You really need to just try to survive, avoid a lot of confrontations, all in confrontations, because flips are flips. It basically means you're gonna win one, lose one, and if you're cover, you flip a few times, you're out. So it's a different mentality and different strategy, which I will go in further details, spoiler, in a future episode for Derek Kwong's 10-minute poker tips.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
as a teaser for
Yeah,
that,
right.
what is one thing, you don't have to you don't have to give away the whole thing, but what's one thing that you would tell somebody who's trying to get better at satellites, right? I mean, tomorrow the circuit starts with 2 satellites for packages into the circuit. Not everyone has the package you have there for the circuits for the World Series. So, what tip would you give someone playing in these circuits tomorrow? Whether it's how to get better at these overall, like long term, or how to play the event individually.
One of the first WPT seasons, I'm not even sure if it's season one, that I remember it was either at Commerce or at the bike. There's this player, they call him Tight Chris. I think his name is Chris Kergrillian or something. And if you look at his final table, he could be ultra tight, but toward the end, he wasn't. So um, it's basically about gears, but generally, tight is right. It works in satellite because you're just trying to survive to the 10%. That
Yep.
doesn't mean you can't make moves, but you want to make moves that are that has a high success rate. And what that means is, after you fold 20 hands in a row, you could raise whatever basically because people will think, well, this guy folded 2 orbits, he must have aces, right? And or they give you a lot of credit, and then when you when things don't go right, it's like 10-4. What the heck, you waited 2 hours to play 10-4? But so anyway, so image is one thing that will help. um you could mix things up, but you don't need to go for chips. There are a lot of Survivor players, and a lot of them LA Blasters. They play as if they're playing Survivor. I mean, sorry, as if they're playing bounty events.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
me.
It's
Right.
the
That's me.
anti-Survivor. Yeah. So basically, your goal is to survive, whether you have one chip or you have chip lead. Although right now it's a little bit different with the introduction of milestone and
Mm-hmm.
landmark. That's a
Yep.
totally different
Tomorrow's will be
similar strategy,
landmarks.
but there's yeah,
Yep.
there
Tomorrow's will
are
be
additional.
landmarks. They add a wrinkle. They do add a wrinkle.
Yeah, so that actually favors the players who are looking to accumulate chips. That's it, of course it's really comfortable to have that kind of chip lead going to the near the end game because you just coast, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just your sole goal is to survive, your sole goal is to double bag. It's really not that hard to make top 10, top 20%.
Yeah. I mean,
It's your
basically
focus.
the risk the risk to go after that big stack is typically not worth it when all you're trying to do is just finish at a certain place, right?
Right, not
Um,
for survivors
right,
in general. Yeah.
right.
All right. So, thank you for that. I will try and keep that in mind, but I'm probably just going to go for the landmark when I play tomorrow. That's, I think, in
Yeah,
the
for landmark
last.
satellites, well, actually, what about that, Frank? So I think landmark satellites, it is worth it to go for it because I love getting out of tournaments early.
Yeah. My goal is to bag more than twice in the 2 landmarks tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my
And
goal.
typically too, also like I feel like my strength is, deeper stacked. So definitely like going for it in the beginning to try to hit that landmark is a good idea.
There's definitely value to that, but the landmark I've seen it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I've seen people that pretty much they have a 99% chance of just locking up the seat, but because they went for the one extra orbit of blinds, they end up screwing themselves. I mean, Ty has the story from the Gardens, the the mystery milestone where the guy went all in with kings. You just need to pick out the
Yep.
blinds. Except the small blind didn't see him go all in, and he was trying to bully the big blind.
It
Went all
was
in like
actually the button,
what,
I
nine
think. I think it
four.
was the button. But yeah, the guy didn't notice he
Okay,
went all
so
in. Yep. Did not
yeah,
notice he
so
went
he
all in.
basically he cracked the kings, and the kings end up with a stack that's still playable. But he went all the way
I
heads up
actually,
to
yeah, with
against the
me.
guy,
And
right?
I had to, yeah.
Yeah, and then he lost. So
Yep.
yeah,
That's so
so
funny.
if he play a regular strategy and I should say regular satellite, his chip stack will definitely be safe to get a seat. But because it was milestone and he went for it, it backfired that time.
Yep. Yep. That was pretty funny. That was fun times. Fun times. Okay. So let's move on to another, well, a slightly different topic that will seg right nicely into what we're doing here. I'm gonna bring up some results from the week, and well, look at that. We got Frank's face right in the center. I'm not quite sure how he managed to get this picture, since if you don't know, we've already mentioned it. He is the one who takes these pictures. Usually, he is the one who runs our Instagram. So this is the LA Poker Roundup Instagram, and this is the results from the big commerce free roll for the 5 Poker Pro packages and like 100K other dollars going out into that free roll. So here is from last week. This is what we're congratulating Frank from in the beginning. He got one of those 5 packages. There were 428 players in this free roll, or entries. I think you could rebuy. And Frank was the shortest stack at 6-handed, and I hear someone could not make the tournaments, so gave the rest of you a little gift there. Mr. Parviz Shore, right? Gave you guys a little gift at the end.
Yes, he actually that was his very first tournament. He's a cash game grinder, and he was dreading finishing top 5. He told me he doesn't play tournament, he doesn't want to travel. And the thing is, for the top 5, they're getting a $6,000 cash, and the rest payouts in tournament buy-ins, right?
Yep.
Where sixth place was a $10,000 cash payout. So he's actually would be getting more that night, and he wouldn't have to play any tournaments. So he basically jumped at the chance of getting that sixth
That's
place
crazy.
prize rather than 6,000 plus having to play the rest of the prices. When he offered that, another gentleman, the guy to my right, to my left in this photo, I guess, the older gentleman, he thought about that too. They almost were going to kind of like figure out who's to taking the sixth place, but eventually the guy to my right decided to take the
Gotcha.
package.
So he
So
wasn't super
I saw
excited
with it.
about the package either. Interesting.
Yeah,
He
why are these
thought
guys
that
doing this
there's
early?
yeah, and actually, I think the 5 of us, besides me, the others are mainly cash game players, and even the final table, I think when we're down to the final 9, 3 of us played tournaments. Cody Bell, who busted 7th, and Tony in 8th or 9th. He plays a lot of tournaments too, but yeah, but this was a cash game heavy field.
Yeah, which makes sense because you had to endure 50 to 101 or 110 hours of cash game grinding at Commerce in order to qualify, right? So
Yeah.
I know, I said it the other week, all the tournament players I know who were grinding those hours just were absolutely miserable. And I got the hours the last time they ran this thing. It was miserable. So I I can totally get why it's mostly cash game grinders in there. But congratulations to this final table. Congratulations to the 5 new Commerce Poker Pros: Frank, Eric Salau, Shuang Lin, Samuel Farah, and Victor Vo. So congrats to the Poker Pros, to the Commerce Poker
Yeah.
Pros. 6th place was Parviz Shore, 7th place Cody Bell, and 8th place Tony Wynn. So I know last year they had a lot more. They did, I think, 20 Poker Pros, right? 20 packages. And they did a dinner for them, They had Jamie Gold as the team coach. They did a big announcement at the
Yeah.
opening event. They did the pictures and the cover. Do you know, are they doing the same amount of promotion with you guys, or do you know
So
anything with the deals
there's
yet? They had a dinner,
yeah,
everything.
there's definitely a little bit cutback this year. As you said, last year there were 20 packages, and they had kind of like a celebration, champagne celebration right afterwards, with some photographers, videographers, but
Yep.
we didn't
On
have
the
that
roof.
this year. Right, exactly right. But this year they did add the 100K guarantee, so 50 people got paid. The top 50 all got cash. 50th place was $500, all the way to 10,000 for sixth place. So they added $100,000, which is five basically four seats, right? So that's still less than what they gave out last year with 20 seats. So there was some cutback. That's just their decision to do that this year, I guess.
Man, it's that economy, man. It's that cutbacks hurting everybody. Very cool. So they're not going to do as much. You're saying they're not going to. We may not see. You may not have to walk up on stage to the fireworks and the smoke as like they did last year. They're not going to. Maybe won't do that this time.
Did that happen last year? You're just joking.
No, they put everyone's names up and pictures on the screen though, and
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there was a big I was in line waiting to reg. I kept looking doors. They did. They had them on the MC was up there announcing everyone's names. They walked across.
Maybe I missed the first day.
Yeah, you probably did. It was probably Friday morning or something, and you weren't there Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yep. So congrats to all of those folks. Before we pivot into this topic fully, let me head on over to the next post because this is the only other set of closest thing we have to results for the week because nobody posted last week. There were only dailies happening around town. So here we have a picture of the final table from Saturday's event, which was massive as predicted. 408 entries for a prize pool of over 85,000 on this event.
Wow.
So holy cow, I almost think when there's nothing else happening in town, there's no competition, maybe jack this up to a 300 and then up to a 50K guarantee, and let's just make this into a 100K, for sure. It'll be a 100K. But even so, it was an amazing turnout. Way to go. We have a couple tags here. Here was Rod T. Bender, so Rod and Ross. I don't know who that is. But, we recognize a lot of these faces. So congrats to this final table. We're not even sure how it ended up. Probably ended up in a 9-way chop. Who knows? But we didn't get results, unfortunately, because the team there was too busy covering the free roll, I guess, or something. So congrats to that final table. But let's talk about the LA Poker Roundup. So as everyone noticed at the beginning or at the end of the World Series last year, I think roughly it was. I think is that when you decided to take the reins of the Instagram here? Our Instagram went from posting maybe twice a month at most to posting maybe 20 times a week. And that was all Frank. Frank decided to jump in and take the reins and start creating this beautiful collage of LA poker. And this is always what we really wanted it to be. Pictures of all the winners, promotions of the biggest things happening. We've got some clips of our shows going on there now. Information and the things people need to know, right? So this is awesome. Frank has done such a fantastic job with this. And you know what? One thing, if you look at all the coverage that other folks do in the blogs, your pictures are almost just universally better. I'm not necessarily saying they're a shot better, but like, look at these faces. Look at these, like in your collages, everybody's so happy, except for like tough guys like Andy. But like, you just get really great joy out of people playing poker, man. I don't know how you do it, but it's awesome. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, buddy.
Yep. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I'll go ahead and share how I got involved for those that.
Yep, please do. That was the next question. Go ahead.
So, Ty, you said twice a month. Is that what you said?
Probably or less. Over? Yeah.
So I took over. When you have 4 posts.
Yep, there you go. So that's like 0.75 a month, maybe.
That's a quarter.
Well, the 5th post was me. So this is how it got started. So one day, Ty was asking me in the group chat, "Hey Frank, you're playing a lot of tournaments, and you were sharing with us the stories at the table and sending us some photos. Why don't you just do that for Instagram?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll be happy to do that. I'm just waiting for my contract." And Ty said, "Well, you're the contract attorney. You're supposed to prepare that." And I said, "That's not the way how it works. You're trying to recruit a talent. You need to have an offer to present." So that's all jokes aside. Nothing happened. And
look, we made you an amazing offer: profit share, bonuses, everything.
Oh,
you got some free gear. You got some free gear.
You know, right? Yes, that's true.
Company
Except
swag.
now I may not be able to wear it contractually
Yeah.
because of the Commerce
Yeah, don't they know you already have a
values.
contract?
We haven't seen it yet. That's a problem.
Yeah,
So anyway,
we're gonna have to. Our
when
lawyers are
it
gonna have
was,
to
I
talk to
think,
them, Frank.
exactly. So last August, right? It was the first. You guys had your first anniversary episode, and that day I texted the group. I told Ty, "Happy birthday for your first year birthday present. I'm gonna help you with Instagram for 1 year." And after a few weeks, I regretted not saying 3 months.
And
It's a lot of
So,
work.
it's
It's a
funny
lot
he
of work.
says that, but we kept telling Frank, hey, this is way above and beyond what we even expected. So because like if you've seen Frank, he's like practically missing hands, sometimes missing hands in the events he's playing to get
yes,
coverage. Right,
yes.
he's running around. Jeremy jokes he's the only person who gets 10,000 steps when he plays his events, and if he's not double tabling literally in the room, he's running to every table in the room to take pictures. He's running to every he's everywhere, and we're like, hey, Frank, you could play your tournament and then get the coverage later on a break. It's cool. And he's like, nah. So don't let him fool you. I think he loves this. I think he loves it.
Right. Sure. Try to convince yourself about that. August, let's see, August 27th, 2025. Just 3 months away. 3.5.
And also, I don't remember
Wow.
him saying for 1 year. Do you remember him saying for 1 year, Derek? I think he's trying to hold out some
It's in
I don't
text.
negotiation power
remember.
here.
I don't
It's a
remember a
good
lot of
thing. That's
things.
why first thing we learned from law school, everything keep it in writing. Make sure you have it in writing.
Yeah.
As in our group
Right.
chat, you could go back. So waiting for that max contract offer.
Yeah, no, but he's just done a fantastic job. And
Yeah. See,
um,
number five.
yeah, I see it
Number
now. I
five
got all
for
the way,
1 year.
finally got down here. So that's another thing is that one of the great things about doing the show is meeting more people from the community. And Frank is one of the first people who kind of reached out. I don't know. Did you know Derek well at all before this, Derek? Frank, because right away in the early days of the show, Frank reached right out. Frank, Jesse, Jeremy, these guys reached out early on to talk to us and to talk to us about LA Poker and to tell us, what was going on to keep us
Yeah.
updated. And it's been really great to get to know these guys and to, kind of work with them now. So,
Speaking about if I knew Derek,
yep.
have a interesting story. So the first time I met Derek was during a heads up event at LAPC. We were in round three. This is basically the money bubble. Okay, and before we matched up, I think our match was day two,
Yep.
and we finished 2 rounds. So the third round, and I asked, I think it was, what festival was it? Mid
Chinese
Autumn
New
or
Year.
something,
Yeah.
or Chinese New Year. So I
Yeah.
asked Derek, I have lunch plans with the family. Could we postpone our start time like an hour or so? And Derek was very kind, said, yeah, sure, no problem. And then unbeknownst to me, Derek Hunt's match is always the last one to end. And remember DJ was like, what? And you want to delay start too? So anyway, we had our battles. So it was best of three, and we were tied 1-1 going to the rubber match. And Derek saying, I used to grind and kill these $100 heads up set and goes on poker till. You're giving me more trouble than they are.
Yeah. I
And
remember that.
so I said, oh, do you want to do a 5% swap? He's like, no thanks. So okay. And then so
Head
our
games,
rubber
man.
match, I
Head games.
remember. Yeah, I don't
I
even know.
actually don't swap. I really meant that full tilt
I
coming.
know. Yeah. So we got it in on the turn. I turned trips, and Derek got his chips in with a flush draw, and we all knew what happened with the river, and he advanced. I didn't. So that's how I met Derek.
Derek pulled a Mike Liang on you, and we didn't hear that much about what?
I don't even remember the hand.
Oh,
I do.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. So on the topic of the Instagram, though, now that you're here and you're talking to everybody, is there anything you want to tell everyone out there? Anything you want from them, anything you want them to do or stop doing, anything that will make your life easier as the #1 field reporter, just so that you can, elevate it to the next level. What do you want? What would you tell the people?
Well, if you have Instagram, let me know so I could tag you, follow you, and you could also follow us and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, to basically help the community, help the game, promoting the game, and that's a win-win for everybody.
Yep. And
Yeah.
a little side question is, you've been playing here in LA for so long. What percentage of the players would you say you were familiar with that you know before you started doing this? And then what percentage of the regs population would you say you know now?
I think before handling the Instagram, I think I would say close to 50%. And now I think I know close to 70 to 80% of the regs, the name by names, because I asked them for results,
Yeah.
right? And I look at the player of the year standing. I think I know everyone in the top 100.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I think that's a good sign that we're doing the player of the year pretty good if you know every single person. Only the top 100 though. I'm a little disappointed. I thought you'd make it to at least 200 with that
I
before.
mean, for sure, 100. I haven't,
You got to look again.
looked.
And what would you say has been your favorite part of doing it for this almost a year now?
I think just the appreciation from the players, and I've gotten unsolicited praises for what we're doing, both the YouTube podcast and also the coverage on Instagram. They're even expecting us to do some live streams or hand not hand breakdown but hand histories. I was like, that's up above my pay grade, so we don't have budgets for live streams either. So
Yeah. And then what's your least favorite thing? What is it? What kind of things happen while you're trying to get this coverage or that kind of story where it's just like, man, that really, I don't know, something that recurs that's annoying as someone trying to get coverage, or just something that happened one time that was annoying?
well, basically missing hands, and yeah, but that's something I if you notice, it's also because I've gone through a lot of um, postings over the last 6 to 8 months, that everyone kind of know who are who in the community. That a lot of the day one photos before the money or the final table are just going to be kind of redundant.
Hmm.
So I'm missing less hands, but in the beginning it was basically trying to just multitask and juggle, trying to bring the best coverage at the same time and try to have good results as well.
Right. Yeah. And like we said, we do not encourage you to miss hands or hurt your tournament
Right.
game for this, but everybody does appreciate what you've been getting. So yeah, definitely get that. Get
Yeah.
that.
Speaking of that, there are definitely a lot of very kind and generous players. I'll name a few. Um, Nick Gripple, Sohel, um, and Alvin, the Dominican, of course. They tipped me a couple $100 after their win. That was
Oh,
just
really?
not expected, and I was
Nice.
shocked. And
That's nice.
really appreciate what you're doing for the community. I know it's a lot of work, very time consuming. You're doing this all, just voluntarily pro bono work. This is just a little, appreciation of what you do, and that's very cool of
Sick.
them.
That's super nice.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, guys, don't be afraid to tip Frank. We don't,
Oh,
if in case you didn't get it from the joking we were doing, we don't pay Frank. We don't pay ourselves. We don't pay Frank. So don't be afraid. All right. Very cool. I don't know. Is there anything else that you really wanted to talk about today, Frank? Any other topics you wanted to hit?
let's see.
Or Derek, I've been doing most of the talking or questioning, but I'm about out of topics myself. I know you had a couple, I think, actually, on your own paper.
No, I think we actually kind of like mostly covered it. So maybe, the last question for Frank is, how do you feel, or how important do you feel, not only from the work that you're doing, but media coverage in general, right? Like, how important is that for the growth of the game? And also, on top of that, you tend to feature players that don't typically get featured, right? You're on the blog, commerce blog. It's typically going to be the regs that get a lot of coverage, and not some of the more unknown players. So, what do you think about both of those things? Growth of poker and also giving shine to some unknown players. Do they appreciate it?
Yeah, so the first part, I think media coverage is fairly essential. It, if you look at how we've been introduced to the game, how we um, start playing poker, for me, if there weren't the Travel Channel broadcasting the World Poker Tour, I may not even play poker at all. I wouldn't know about it. At least I wouldn't know
That's true.
about
Yeah.
tournament poker. Maybe eventually, with the money maker boom, but it basically brought a lot of attention, because the press, the media, provides some legitimacy to the game. It still has some stigma to it. Poker, it's gambling. So a lot of places, it's a lot of countries, they're not legal, whether it's cash or tournament. So I think having media coverage will help, provide a legitimacy to the game and help promote the game.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to have, media press
100%
coverage.
agree. I agree.
And as for, bringing shine to, new players, I mean, everyone was a new player to start with, right? Like even after several years, you're known to the regs, but you're still, nobody or people don't know about you. So even the coverage to the regs bring exposure to the new players, and coverage of the new players gives attention to them when they do well, and people, know, oh, these are the, up and coming. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know about Derek or Ty until the last few years. I think you guys started maybe 5-7 years ago for a tournament, right? I started around 2010, 11, so just a few years before Derek. And back then it was a different group of, tournament regs, or I should say, they're old OGs. I give some shout outs to, of course, Matt Salzberg, Uncle Paul's always being around. There are a lot of tournament that players that end up moving to, Las Vegas, as I mentioned earlier, Day 2 Pete, Hansaku, Nipun Java. So, there are, a lot of waves of players that are coming in and doing well. Just looking at, the Player of the Year leaderboard, there are players that I have never heard of before,
Right.
and they're in the top 10, top 20.
Yeah.
So I think getting those, coverage and recognition helps, the community, helps the game, and obviously helps recognizing their hard work and efforts as well.
Yeah. 100%.
Awesome. And yeah, so thanks, Frank. Thanks a lot for coming on. I know that, you like doing the coverage also because you try and shy out of the spotlight from what I've seen. So it's I know it's a little difficult to come on here and tell everybody your story and get in front of the camera, but we appreciate it. I think everybody really is gonna appreciate getting to know you a little better, know the man behind the camera now, right? So it's awesome, great to have you on, and look forward to playing with you in these coming circuits. So let's take a look at what's coming up, and let's take a look at this coming circuit, shall we, guys?
Let's do it.
All right, so as we said, tomorrow, the World Series of Poker Circuit event, the final event, and there's another one going on somewhere else, so it's kind of tied for the final event. But I call this is officially the final circuit event of the year, happening at Commerce. For those of you playing at that circuit event, somewhere, where is that thing, in the middle of the country somewhere? Ask around. I don't know if you're qualified for our Tournament of Champions if you play before next week or not. It's unclear. But here, I'm pretty confident if you win a ring before Reg starts for that thing, you're in. So I think that's the first 6 ring events. But tomorrow, we are talking about the satellites. They are going to run 2 satellites, which have a package deal for this series. It is a $2,700 package, which is a main event seat, and a $600 seat, and a $400 seat. So you can use that $600 and $400 for whatever you want. The opener, the big multi-day opener, is a $600 buy-in. Hint, hint, that's probably what you should use it for. And then the $400 ones tend to be the one-days or the mixed events, I think. So there's a lot of, or the seniors event here. There's a lot of $400 events that you can use that $400 voucher for as well. So there's a lot of events at those price points. So this is a really great package. Get you that $1,700 main event seat, and then it gets you one of each of those other kinds. And that is a $300 buy-in. 1 in 10 are guaranteed to get seats, with 5 packages guaranteed per event. So they're guaranteeing, there have to be 50 people entering these things to hit their guarantee. I'm sure they will hit them. Jeremy's gonna be there. I'll be there. We'll be there trying to get these packages. I don't know, Frank. Are you allowed to even play in these things now that you are a Big Shot Commerce Pro and you have a package to what 6 events in this series? How many tournaments per circuit series do you have?
So what I was told, the main event in Vegas plus 7 events each of the circuit stop. So 7 in May and 7
Wow.
in November. So it sounds like it's gonna come back for sure in November. Total 14 events. They did not mention anything about not being able to play non-sponsor events, and also they only sponsor one bullet for each
Right.
event. So
So
not pre.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna
I'm
see you
not.
at these satellites tomorrow as well, taking more money just right out of everyone else's pockets, even though you're a sponsored pro. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I'm supposed to meet you tomorrow to give you a one-on-one satellite
Oh no,
strategy, right?
you get now that I see it's a landmark, I'm good. I don't need that.
Oh, okay.
um, but yeah, so very cool. That's how we're starting on Thursday, and then on Friday, the $600 entry, 500K guarantee housewarming begins. That is this has 4 flights with day 2 happening on Sunday, and man, this time there will not be the problem of having to do that secondary wait while they verify you are not laundering money and your identity. So Kevin got that
Yeah,
fixed.
Kevin.
Kevin got that fixed for the dailies, which means it should be fixed for the circuit, which means registration. I'm sure there will still be a line at the beginning of some of these days, especially the beginning of Saturday, 1C. But it won't be as bad as before, and there won't be any real benefit to stopping to get chips on the way up, so we can save ourselves that extra stop. So that's awesome. Hopefully that gets us lots and lots of entries into this thing. It's probably going to be huge. It's a 500K guarantee. I don't remember how big it got last time, but I'm sure it's going to be huge. It got way bigger than the actual guarantee, but and that was with all the extra problems. So looking forward to that. Along with that, they will be having a seniors event on Sunday. So that is a one-day ring event. So on Sunday, if you didn't bag up, this is a good one to do. It starts at 10 a.m. Start playing at 10 a.m. for the seniors event, $400 buy-in, 50K guarantee, one-day ring event there. And then they also have a $600 one-day ring event starting at 3 p.m. I guess that's good for the bust outs of the day 2. So that is what's happening up through Sunday. They are going to be having satellites going on throughout the week, throughout the series, most days at 7 p.m. it looks like. Yep, most days at 7 p.m. they'll be running satellites also, so take a look for those if you're hanging at 4. And then 2 day ones on Tuesday. Nope, I misspoke again. I just assumed. There's only one day one on Tuesday. So there's 2 day ones on Monday, 1 day one on Tuesday, with day 2 happening on Wednesday. So take a look at that, and then we will catch you up on the rest when we come back in the next show. So that is what's happening at the Commerce. That will be the big boy in town. That is the big series. That is the big circuit. That is where all of the cool kids will be. But if you can't play these multi-day events, these are out of your price range, something else, let's go across town over at Lucky Lady. They will be having their regular dailies, it looks like. I didn't see anything special event-wise on their calendar, so that means you'll have 10K guarantees in the evenings and the late afternoons on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then over at Hollywood Park, this weekend is going to be May 9th, 10th, 11th. They have their regular set of events there. There are no events, so they just have their regular tournament. Friday, the Bounty Tournament, 8K guarantee on Friday, the 10K Bankroll Builder on Saturday, and the 5K Sunday Night Lights event on Sunday. So the bike is not doing its dailies anymore. I don't believe they've restarted those. I'm not sure if they have a plan to, but they have not restarted those. And then the Gardens has its regular dailies happening if that is more your speed. So if you can play the multi-days, if you are up for the challenge in these big fields, you definitely got to come down. The circuit's going to be hopping.
Yeah, and even, the Saturdays are running for the purpose of you not being able to afford some of these events. So definitely go out there. They're going to be the biggest prize pools. You're playing for a freaking WSOP ring. House is going to be packed. It's going to be a fantastic experience. You're going to meet new Commerce Pro Frank Lin. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, get a picture, get a signature. Do it while he's still in the catch him while the elevator's going up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that is all we have. Frank, yeah, parting words.
Well, yeah. Actually, earlier you mentioned Rounders, my home game
Yep.
club. So I just like to give a quick shout out to my boy John and girls Leanne and Kimmy. They were there with me Sunday night when I won one of the packages. So shout
Nice.
out to them as well as other members. I know I'm gonna forget someone for sure. I'm just gonna quickly go down. Scotty, um, Andrew, Stefan, Art, Mark, of course, Amy, and um, Mush, and just everyone from Rounders. I battle with them almost nightly. Tonight I skip to join the show.
Oh,
So
they'll be happy
yeah.
that you're not taking all their money. I know some of those names too. Shout out Kimmy. I hope she's watching.
I did think about multitasking because the game started at 8. I literally could play 1 hour, then set out from 9 to 10, and I still have chips or multitask. But I didn't do it. So
I
just
just
for you
want to
guys.
point out that Frank's still big timing me on Instagram. I've requested a follow here, Frank C. Lin.
No way.
I'm
Oh, I
still.
don't use my own personal.
I don't.
I don't use social media that
Hey,
much.
hey,
So
but it says the guy who posts 20 times on ours. I'm just saying you
yeah,
tagged
okay,
yourself. Just say you tagged yourself, and I'm still not getting the request in. So just saying. All right. Cool. Yeah, yeah. And also, if you're interested in learning mixed games, Frank coordinates a low stakes turbo mixed game tournament online thing as well. On what do we plan? Stars, Poker Stars Light or something, or
yeah, Poker Star home games, yeah.
Poker
And
Star?
and we have some mixed game crushers
Yeah.
on their ring winners. Jeremy Hamble, of
Yep.
course,
Yep.
just won a ring last year.
Yep.
And Kathy Chang,
Yep.
she plays sometimes.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
is she in
gotten a
there
lot
now?
harder. It's gotten much
Oh my
She's a
tougher.
gosh.
member. Yeah.
Forget it. I'm
But
not coming back.
Yeah, it was much softer when he first started it, and Derek and I were playing.
No, that's
Now,
that's way to learn.
yeah, yeah. So if you're interested in
Honestly,
doing that and learning some cheap low stake mix game, let Frank know. He'll put you on the list.
rake free, no rake.
Yep, rake free, just low stake $20 bind. I think we did right. So just hop on in there
Actually, there's free money added too.
every now and
Sunday
again
or Monday.
when
Yeah.
Frank's feeling generous. Yep,
Well, when I pinged to see, I threw in. Yeah.
yep. When you say streaming, Jeremy, you mean it's nonstop, or you mean just not those 7 o'clocks? Like Kevin brought the sit and goes over from the gardens. Is that what's happening there? One table sit and goes. We'll see about that. Okay. So anything else, Frank?
See you at the tables.
All right. I like it. Let's go. I'll see you all at the tables.
See you at the tables, everyone.